Hey guys, I'm Alexis,
I'm Asha.
and we're your hosts.
Every week, we're going to be bringing you a new episode where we interview staff, fellow students, discuss current events, our interests, and life at CSUF.
This is the Honors Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Honors Podcast.
For this week's episode, we will be speaking with Saleem Haider, a student from CSUF's Business Honors Program and who started a TEDx branch at CSUF.
Saleem, we're glad to have you here with us. To start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at CSUF?
Awesome. I'd be glad to do that. So first and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to, have an awesome conversation. So my name's Saleem Haider. I am a junior studying business administration with a concentration in accounting here at CSUF. Basically a long way of saying that I'm a business student. I've always loved business. When I was in high school, I did a ton of entrepreneurial stuff. I still do. It's just something that I love studying and love doing. But other than that, I'm a motorcycle rider. I have a lot of other passions like building computers, and reading is something I always love to do. So I'm really looking forward to really engaging conversation tonight. Thanks for having me once again.
Yay.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. So you said you're interested in consulting and accounting. Could you talk more about the industry and the professions available?
Yeah, I sure can. So I'll start with accounting first, because accounting is a very popular major here at Cal State Fullerton. As you guys know, I'm pretty sure it's one of the largest majors here, and we actually get recruited for some of the best companies in this profession, which are, they're called the Big Four companies. So it's Deloitte, PwC, which is PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst & Young or EY, and KPMG. I don't know all the names for KPMG, but they're a fantastic firm. So they recruit largely here for accounting. There's two subsections, which are audit and tax. So you can go into those different subsections. And then there's advisory. So advisory is more on that consulting side. It's not something that CSUF is particularly known for, but recruiting wise, but it's something that the university is definitely branching into. Consulting firms are usually in a different category. They're called the Big Three. So there's McKinsey, there's Bain, and there's BCG. But a lot of the other big professional services firm like the Big Four that I previously mentioned also have their own consulting branches. Me personally, I'm going to be interning with PricewaterhouseCoopers in their advisory consulting department. I'm going to be doing something called financial due diligence, which is just a really fancy way of saying it's like appraisals, but for businesses as opposed to real estate. Making sure that if you're going to be buying a business or a branch or an office, whether it's a good financial decision, and making sure that all their books are okay and there's nothing really mysterious or shady going on. I think it's a really cool profession. I think that the pandemic has definitely changed a lot of companies and their structure. So I think consulting is a growing industry. In terms of restructuring and corporate development and all those cool different things. And accounting is an age-old profession. It's something that's always been around, and it probably always will be around, even with increased use of automation and all those different things. The world sort of runs on Excel, if you guys have heard that quote before. Literally everything, like to the Federal Reserve and our currency, it's all run on Excel. Accounting is just something that's, as cheesy as it is, and as many times as I've been asked that question, why do you like accounting? It's just because it's so important. It's like the language. It's the language of businesses. That's what people say it is. That's what every professor you ever have that will teach accounting will say. But it's true. So yeah, I hope that answers your question a little bit about what consulting and accounting is and why I like it.
I feel like anybody who's taking accounting 201A for the first time should listen to this, because I totally felt the same way when I first started taking accounting. And I don't know if you felt this way too, Alexis, but it was like, I feel like I'm learning a new language. Because it is, you're learning the foundations of all business. So I think it's interesting, and it makes a lot of sense that the reason why you're passionate about it and the reason why you want to do it is because it's that sort of fundamental foundation for all organizations and businesses.
Yeah, for sure. I'm currently taking 201B of accounting right now, and so I just took 201A, and it was definitely like learning a new language, but I could see how important it was for like my continuation of my like business journey. And so I totally understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it has a ton of business applications. Like I always have people ask me, because I'm an accounting major, they're like, you study accounting? Like, why do I have to take this class? It's super hard, especially considered to some of the other like lower division business classes that are required for all business majors. It's a difficult class. It's a lot of reading. It's very conceptual. There's a lot of vocab and small technical things that can ding you here and there. So it can be a little frustrating to say that like, this isn't marketing, this isn't ISDS, like why am I learning this? But it's because of its universal capabilities. Like when me and Akshay were saying like that language, that, you know, why it's like that, best way I compare it is if you're a computer science major or a STEM major and, you know, you're trying to understand accounting, it's like coding. Where coding is the fundamentals to a program, accounting is the fundamentals for a business. And just like how you can have efficient code to make it streamlined and simple, you can have efficient accounting to make businesses simple to understand. And it's just super important in any application. So I totally agree with you guys.
Love that. Accounting's biggest supporter.
I try my best. It's hard sometimes. It's hard.
It is. But, you know, so in addition to your school and your academics, you also started TEDx here at Cal State Fullerton. So we're curious, you know, what prompted you to start it and how has it been since you've started? Just tell us a little bit more about it.
Always happy to talk about TED. It's my passion. I love public speaking. When I was in high school, I did 3 TEDx talks. I did one on music, I did one on philosophy, and I did one on, the theme was belonging for the event.
Oh my gosh, is this on YouTube now? Like, can we go search it?
They're definitely on YouTube. It's definitely not my best public speaking. I was 15, 16, 17 at the time. So you can even see how I improved across the 3 of them. Yeah. But you know, I'm proud. It was an awesome accomplishment, a fantastic experience. And when I did this throughout high school, I took a little bit of a leadership program my senior year in terms of helping develop it, auditioning the speakers, working on drafts. And I was like, this is really cool. I love the program. I love the fundamentals of what it teaches. I love the process of being able to get published on a global audience. I think 29.4 million subscribers as of February 2021, which is just insane. It's a huge audience. So when I was applying to colleges, right, I was telling myself that this is something that I've developed as a skill. I want to be able to start this wherever I go. So when I was applying to CSUs, UCs, private schools, I was like, wherever I end up going, I want to start a TED program there. And I want to, you know, apply for a license, just like how the teacher at my school did it and all those sort of things. And I want to run a program. So when I came to CSUF, that was the first thing I started doing. The first question I always asked, where do I go? I want to start a club. I went to Student Life and Leadership. I got that process going. We got our, you know, signatories, we got our faculty advisor, all that technical stuff. And since then, the program has just grown incredibly. We were registered as a student organization last January, and we received our official licensing from TED, the nonprofit, last March. So that allowed us to have a conference, which we just finished, our first conference about 2 weeks ago. Incredibly exciting. We had 11 speakers, faculty, staff, industry professionals, 20, 25 years of experience. And it was a fantastic accomplishment. And now our club has grown to around more than 100 members and a board of around 25. Just absolutely bonkers. I never would have imagined that. And it's just an incredibly awesome feeling in my heart knowing that, like, it's not just my idea anymore. You know, I came to CSUF wanting to start this, but now that this vision is shared, you know, between a lot of the people in the faculty and staff here at CSUF, as well as a lot of our board members who are really all working across all sorts of disciplines and majors trying to make this happen. I just can't say, you know, enough good things about it. It's been a fantastic experience for me. And I feel like it's only, you know, there's only so much more that we can do. We have a lot to work on and a lot of different areas that we can grow into. And just really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is. And so you once did a TED talk about the experience machine. Would you like to share about it with us?
Yeah. So it's been a while since I've talked about this, but the experience machine is it's a philosophical thought experiment. The best way to compare it is if anybody here has seen The Matrix. So The Matrix is this movie where, you know, you get hooked up into this, you're born into like this sort of box and you're connected into sort of like a cloud, right? And you live in that cloud, and that cloud is the universe and the world, and everything is in the Matrix. And you don't know that you are in this sort of cloud. You don't know that your real body is outside of it, right? So there was a thought experiment that basically said, let's say that there's a machine. There's a machine that when you put it on, when you connect to it, it'll make you as happy as possible. How does it do that? Well, there were some super duper neuroscientists that were able to figure out how to maximize your dopamine and all those other different awesome hormones and chemicals that make you feel fantastic. So it just creates a world, your own individual universe, where you are able to be the happiest person you could possibly imagine. It's infinite happiness. That's what it is. That's what it does. So if this was to exist, would there be any reason that nobody would to not take it? Right? So you can dive into some huge hypotheticals, right? Where I would rather live in a real world where, it's not a simulation where I know that, there's good things and bad things. Okay. If that's the case, then if the machine can truly make you as happy as you want, it'll make you in a world where you don't know you're in the machine. Yeah. Yeah, that's something like it's a quintessential argument. And it goes back down to basic philosophy, where the concept of hedonism. Human beings, we do things that make us happy, right? There's no other reason that we would do something if it didn't give us personal enjoyment. That's what we always aim to do. So if this is our basic philosophy, how come this machine would be something that we would look down upon? This should be something that every civilization that exists in the universe should aim towards. Everyone getting their own customized world. What's better than that? It is the ultimate utopia, per se. It's a very fascinating concept. I also got really abstract with it because I wanted to take this theory is not mine. It's from a Harvard philosopher called Robert Nozick. Super awesome guy, APA registered, and really accomplished, right? So I was like, how do I add my twist to this? What's another thing that I really like that I can somehow connect? And I was like, space. I love space. You can see like the sky in the background. I love space, and as it relates to extraterrestrial life and all those crazy things that just make you stare at your wall at 2 a.m. and wondering, what am I doing here? Like I think about that stuff all the time. So I was like, there's this age-old question called the Fermi's paradox, which is, if there's infinite, if the universe is infinitely expanding and growing and there's just a huge amount of space out there, how come we haven't discovered any life? That's the question, because you can't say that the universe is infinite, having infinite possibilities without saying that there's no life out there. So I was like, okay, all right. So we have 2 different concepts here. One's philosophy based. One is a problem that we can't solve or just don't have the knowledge to, right? So there was this really abstract thing that I found called the aestivation hypothesis. So it's a really, really weird name, but the aestivation hypothesis basically says that any civilization that is advanced enough to reach us based on capabilities and technology doesn't want to. It doesn't want to because it's reached that point in an advanced civilization that it realizes expanding beyond what it currently knows is a risk to what they currently have. So I was like, interesting. Okay, so if I'm going to say that the experience machine is a utopia because it makes everyone as happy as possible, could it not be said that once you reach that point where you're so advanced in civilization, you don't want to reach out to anyone, you just make experience machines and sort of live in your own universe? Maybe that's why we haven't found anyone. It's because everyone that can find us doesn't want to, because they're already living in their own world with their own bubbles and being as happy as they possibly can. Because like we said, if we talked about hedonism being we do things that are good for us, everybody would technically aim to go into those machines. So it's just an interesting thing. There's
like
just so many.
I feel like you'll never get.
You'll never get anywhere.
Are we in our own experience machine? Is that what's happening now?
That's a whole nother discussion, because it's just a matter, because it's all about perspective, right? Abraham Lincoln said perspective is reality. So it's hard to have an argument, because if you're going to start on that standpoint, then I don't know if you're real. You don't know if I'm real, right? I'm the protagonist in my story. So, it could be that I'm just in my machine and then you are a figment of my imagination. It's just totally crazy. It's some real fireside talks by the beach sort of stuff, but I had a fantastic time just freelancing and talking about it on a stage and getting some ideas out there. It was really creative. That's really what it is. TED's all about ideas worth sharing, and I connected some abstract concepts and I talked about it. And I had a lot of people sort of question me on it and challenge me, and it was cool. That's what it's all about. So I hope that answers your question. Long-winded answer, but yes, that was what my experience machine talk was about.
You mentioned something really interesting right at the end of that. You said, you had people kind of talk to you and challenge you, and it was interesting, and that's what it's all about. You are someone that has done a lot while you're at Cal State Fullerton, and for as long as I've known you, you're constantly challenging yourself. What is your relationship to challenge? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, I like it when things are like, I know the answer, I know the path, it's straight cut, I know how to get there, and challenge is very much not like that. It's very confusing and sets you back. Like, I'm assuming that you are somebody that has a good relationship with challenge. You like to be confronted. Like, tell us more about that and your mindset and how it's sort of contributed to your success.
Right. So that's a really good question. It's a hard one to answer too, because, it's not the first time I've been asked, how do you like take it? How do you handle it all? And the honest answer is, I don't know. I just never think about things that sort of way. I think most of the people here might have heard the sort of thing, the growth mindset, right? Where you take those challenges. It's a fantastic thing. It should, everybody should read a book about the growth mindset and how to develop it. I always sort of view things like those challenges as not obstacles or hurdles that are in my way, but things that I can rise up to, right? So I've been faced with tons of roadblocks. Like, let me tell you guys a quick little story. So when we were trying to launch this TED program here at CSUF, nobody knew who we were. We didn't have a license at that time from TED. We were just, you know, in January, we had our signatories, super bare bones club, right? But we had ambitions. We, as in me and a couple of the other people on the board, we wanted to get the Clays Performing Arts Center, which is this huge $20 million opera house on CSUF campus. And we were like, we want to do our conference there. We want to do our conference there. And you have no idea how hard it was to do that. We reached out to Student Life and Leadership. Oh, that's a different facility, separate thing. I was like, oh, okay, all right. We reached out to the theater department. Oh, totally different thing. You know, they have their own staff. We reached out to them. They referred us back to the theater department. Oh, you have to talk to the assistant. It was a huge mess. And it was discouraging because, you know, with every email, we got a response back a week later. And we were sort of wondering, like, we want this to happen. We really want it. It was a roadblock. It was frustrating. It definitely, especially when you're starting out and you have a lot of momentum and you want to get things going and going and going, and you have something as big as where the event is going to be, that one quintessential event that your club revolves around. It was a challenge. But it was, you know, receiving no after no, and then, you know, where do you go from there? So what my mindset was, is whenever one person said no, that just meant that I had to ask someone else. And some people might view that as a challenge. Some people might view that as the Karen philosophy, whatever you want to call it. I view it as I want something really bad. I know that we can make it happen. I know that it's there. I know that it's not booked 24/7. I know that it's laying idle. I want to grab it.
Mm-hmm.
How do I grab it?
So challenge doesn't scare you.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Does it excite you?
I would say it does. I would say challenge definitely excites me. I have a very good relationship with being able to accomplish things that are just way out of my element. Whenever things come across my way, I don't view it as I'm not qualified. I view it as, what do I have to do to get there? That's something that I don't know. I just love viewing it that way, because it allows me to have these sort of benchmarks that whenever I do something that I originally didn't think I could, that based on my qualifications, whenever I accomplish that, it feels awesome. And then it just motivates me to go to the next thing. So it's not just me trying to go for this goal that's super far in the distance, not being able to track my progress, getting lost in the ocean from one shore to the other shore. It's me just being able to reach those sort of lighthouses in between and those little islands and navigate my way through the storm. I love doing that sort of stuff. And I love being able to have people around me to share that vision as well. I couldn't do what I do if I didn't have the people around me, whether it be my friends in the honors program, whether it be the people from my high school that I started a charity with this past couple months, whether it be the TED program and the board members and the members that we have had. It's the people around me that share that vision, share those goals, that I'm able to celebrate these challenges and accomplishments and benchmarks with, that really allow me to do the things that I do. And I love doing it. I love doing it. There's like a million quotes running through my head, but to sum it all up in one way, it's I like waking up with a couple things to do on my calendar, with things that I can easily check off and do, and I take that one thing at a time. I stay organized, and I love doing things that, just chipping away at large mountains until I can carve a tunnel through. So yeah, I hope that
in and of itself is like its own TED talk on inspiration and rising up. I feel so inspired. But you also just mentioned the charity that you started with your high school friends.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that. What's it called, and your experience with it?
Right. So the charity is called Masked Heroes Initiative, or MHI. That's the abbreviation we have. It was originally started by a friend of mine who goes to UC Berkeley. We both went to the same high school. He started a GoFundMe page because, as you guys may know, UC Berkeley has a very, very, very troubling issue with the homeless population, right? And the pandemic was starting. There was a lot of concern over public health and all those different things. And PP&E was in a mass shortage because towards the beginning of the pandemic, people were just buying a lot of commodities, whether it be toilet paper, like all those memes that were out a couple months ago, or whether it just be masks or hand sanitizer, simple things like that. So he started a GoFundMe, and he was very aggressive with it. He was really passionate about it. He spread that all across his friends, his social media, his family, around the campus, and all those sort of things. And he got a lot of traction. He got a lot of funds, and it became something like he was wondering, how do I make this something more? How do I make this something more? So he reached out to a couple of his friends that went to his university, and he's like, hey, would you guys willing to just maybe make this into some sort of project? Maybe we can do something aside from a GoFundMe, some fundraisers. And it grew and it grew and it grew. And then one day he came to me and he's like, hey, I know you're pretty good at like organizing stuff and structures and board and all that. You have like a business mindset. Would you be willing to help me like make this an actual foundation, like an actual organization? I was like, I have no idea how to do it, but I'll do it. Like, why not? So, you know, it went from a GoFundMe to like an unofficial group to a charity. We incorporated with the state of California. We got, you know, registered with the Attorney General, all that sort of stuff. We got our 501c3, you know, check marks, check marks, check marks. We filled out the forms, went through YouTube video after YouTube video, Google search after Google search, and learned and did this stuff. And then we just started reaching out. We reached out to the university he went to. We reached out to the university some of our other board members went to. Now we're at around 4 different UCs. We donated around $55,000 worth of PP&E in just the past couple months. And, you know, we have our meetings bi-weekly every Saturday night because it's not like many of us do other things on our Saturday nights anymore. So it's a nice joke that we like to have, and it's a fantastic community, and we really accomplish a lot. We leverage, you know, our ability to be at different schools, you know, have social media aptitude to actually, you know, do some stuff, do some volunteer work that doesn't put anyone at risk, but actually protects the other people. We're really proud of that. We just did an awesome donation, Salvation Army. We currently have a fundraiser for the month of February where we're making little, I don't have any near me, but little like Valentine's bracelets and making grams and sending them out, $5. You can send a Valentine's Day gram with a small note, and all the money goes to charity. It's just a really cool thing. You know, if I was to say one thing about it, to sum it up, you know, as a whole, it's small things like a GoFundMe that can really turn into something big if you have the right team and if you're willing to pursue it. That's all it is. He was willing to pursue it. I was willing to hop on board, and we just made it happen. So you know, as the pandemic sort of develops and comes to a close, as vaccines start rolling out, hopefully, and things start returning to normalcy, it won't be an easy one-step process. There's going to be a lot of issues that have happened these past couple of years, and we're looking as an organization to diversify to help accustom those issues. So, you know, masks are no longer in a tremendous shortage as they were before. So, you know, we have moved from donating to large hospitals to smaller clinics, to retirement homes, to homeless shelters, to underrepresented communities that don't have access to these materials. And then now we're looking more into small businesses, doing social media advertising, helping promote their businesses as they open up, all these awesome stuff. I like to think we're a smart little bunch. We're really, you know, creative as it relates to all the fundraising that we've been doing these past couple months and all what we can do to help other people. And I'm just excited. I'm always excited. I always have a smile on my face. You know, I'm always trying to look for some cool stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, you're obviously incredibly busy. You've taken 51 units so far this year. You're interning, running clubs, and you name it, basically. How has that experience been for you, and how are you able to manage all of that?
Yeah, great question.
Specifically 51 units? What the heck?
Yeah.
Wait, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so 51 units, where do I start? I sometimes, you know, we were talking about challenges just a couple minutes ago. I saw something in front of me, and it was the fact that I'm at home now. You know, I'm not having to commute to classes. I saw all my classes were being moved synchronous, right? And I was like, I wonder if I was looking at my current course load, which it was second semester of my first year on campus. And I was like, I'm taking 15 units right now. That's a decent amount. I like my classes. Could I do one more if it was fully online? Like just one more. That would make it 18, right? And then I was like,
jumped from 15 to 51. Classic. Simple,
I was like,
casual.
I was like 18, and it's like, I think I can add one more, right? So like, at what point does it become too much, right? So after 18, you have to get approval from the dean. So I was like 21, and I swear this is exactly what happened. I had written on the form 21. And then I changed the 1 into a 4. I was like, because right before I sent the email, I was like, I can just do one more. I can do one more. And that's what happened. So I took 24 units last semester. I'm taking 21 units this semester so I can focus on some other projects that are happening during the spring. And then over the summer, I took, I believe, 6 units. So that adds up to 51 that I've taken so far. It's a lot. It's a lot. I honestly, I don't even need to take some of the classes. It's just because I love doing them. It's passion projects. So, you know, there's a professor that gave a TEDx talk that I've been working with very closely. She teaches a couple classes. Her name's Professor Gwendolyn Alexis. She's absolutely fantastic. I love her as a human being. And her classes are super entertaining, discussion based. And I was like, I want to join your class.
Are they
It's
business
not.
classes or like
No, they're
classes?
not. They're AFAM classes. They're history classes, and I already completed those GE requirements. But I was like,
Oh, wow.
I love those classes.
So you're taking
I want to join
African
those
American
classes.
studies with her.
That's right. Yeah, I'm
My
taking
goodness.
Black film history class, as well as a history of racism class, and another one
Oh
was
my
an
God.
immigrant story in America. I believe that was one of the classes. It's very fascinating. I love it. The discussion is great. The way she teaches the class reminds me of a teacher that I had in high school who I loved. It was my theory of knowledge class, which is a requirement for one of the programs I was in. It's basically just a philosophy class, obviously right up my alley. I love it. I love her classes and the way that she teaches them, and I just jumped on it. And yeah, I hope that explains the units. But the second part of the question that you asked was like, how has that been, and how do I sort of manage that schedule? I would say a lot of it is time management. It's like the most generic response ever, but it's just because I'll give you some like tips of how I do it. Calendars work great. Obviously, I like to think I have a nice computer setup. I think that's super important, given that we're virtual. Like, I spend most of my time behind my desk, as you can probably imagine. So I have I built my computer. Not everyone is required to do that. I just think it's a really cool hobby.
You built it?
But I did. I built it. I built I actually build them for a lot of
That's
friends
amazing.
and family. So if you guys are looking to build computers, I do it all the time. I did it for a couple of my friends in the honors program, which I think is really cool. But I stay organized with my calendar. On my desktop, I have a bunch of notepads open for each of my classes. I put, a small tip for everyone, save the Zoom links for your classes and put them on your desktop. So I have a folder called class, and I double click that folder and I have all my classes listed out. I just click on the links and boom, I log in. I don't have to sift through emails and stuff like that. I look at my email enough as it is. I don't want to have to do that any more than I have to. So, small tips like that. I have all my due dates listed on a notepad as well as my calendar. There's a lot of syllabus updaters where you're able to take class syllabuses, add them to your calendar that way. Simple stuff.
Well, I never knew that. That sounds
There, yeah, you can literally just drop a file and it'll auto add it to your calendar because of it'll automatically format it. It's super cool.
Good to learn that when I have 3 months left of college.
Hey, there's always grad school. There's always grad school.
I will be using that in grad school. Dang, that's very smart. It takes up so much of my time to like transfer manually everything from my syllabus to a calendar. It's very smart.
Totally. Even with just finals, like, because every class has its own final schedule. So that's one of the things I like to do at the beginning of the semester, just add all my finals in. I was like, this took like 15, 20 minutes to go through all my syllabuses. And I can't imagine having to do this every week for every class, right? There has to be a better way. So I just Googled it, looked online, and boom, there was a better way.
And you know what? If there wasn't a better way, you probably would have invented it.
Just come up with something. Call up one of my friends, CS major, can you figure this out for me? But yeah, the awesome small tips here and there. Another tip that I have that I really enjoy doing is if I'm really busy during the day, I can't attend a class. Sometimes I just have a lot of urgent emails that I need to attend to in the morning, and I have a 10 a.m. or an 8:30. I record the class. With the permission of the professor. I just say, hey, if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not going to be able to focus during today's lecture. I know you're teaching your class. I respect your time. I don't want to have to ask you a bunch of questions, and I won't be able to learn it the way that I want to my standards as a student professional, by reading the book or just reading the slides. So would I have your permission to record the class? Most of the times, yes. You just got to be nice. You just got to be nice and ask. So sometimes I record it. I save the lecture to my desktop, and Saturday nights when I'm in my pajamas and I have some more free time since I'm not going out anymore, I just open up some lectures and I'm able to watch the recording, take the notes that I missed, and I'm all caught up for the next week.
Really
I always
smart.
like doing that. It's all about
you're partnering with your professors. I think sometimes like it's easy as a student to be like me versus the teacher. Like it's you're playing the game of the professor and of the university. But it sounds like what you're doing here is you're like, look, we're all on the same team. We're all trying to get people educated and trying to improve ourselves. I've never heard of somebody doing that. Like, when you talk to them, are you like, look, I had a really long night, or I have a lot of things going on. Can I record?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I do. Okay. So I always say, I email them either the morning of, or I sort of try and get an agreement with the professors beforehand. I have a very busy schedule. I anticipate that sometimes I may be very tired as a student. Would it be okay, if I send you a notification that, hey, can I record this lecture? A lot of my professors actually by default are just super awesome. They record their lectures for me, which is really cool. But Sometimes I want to get the Zoom chat in as well because I want to see what my peers are writing. And sometimes it's a matter of I am there, like I am sitting in my seat in the class, but my brain isn't. Like I'm sure I'm not the only one that's had that feeling before, where I'm just sitting there and like the noise is going in one ear out the other, and I haven't learned a single thing, but I want to. Like I like the content and I'm trying my darn hardest, but I just can't. That's why I record the lectures, because even though I feel like I was there, even though I felt like I participated, I miss a lot. I missed a lot. And just communicating that, like Asha was saying, you're on the same side. Like I want to perform well in their class and they want to teach me. So let's reach a compromise. And it's all about using time that you might not have access to elsewhere. So for example, if I'm busy during one part of the day and I'm free during the other, just shifting over my responsibilities, being efficient with it. That's something, because I'm sure that I say it if there's anyone else like me, because I know it's something that we can all relate to, but I have some free time during the nights where I may be just scrolling through YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I can fill that in with something a little bit more useful. I don't just be like, well, I don't have any more homework or I don't have any more lectures to watch and it's 12 a.m. So I might as well, now I sort of have that responsibility on myself, is I always have a lecture on my computer. There's no hiding from it. So I need to get that out of there. I need to delete it. So
it's an advantage, I
might as well just do it.
Online learning too. That's a huge
It
advantage
is.
that we didn't have before. We've talked a lot about, the different opportunities that you've had throughout your college experience. How are you able to land these opportunities in the first place? I know that's a very broad question, but.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So a little bit of insight about me is I'm on a 3-year graduation track from high school. So I came into CSUF as a sophomore. And one particular thing about business and accounting in specific is that I like to make the joke that they have predatory recruiting. And I say this in a way that it's literally your second year or first year on campus, and they're trying to recruit you for like a full-time job. Like they want you to have your career figured out and where you want to go and all that sort of stuff. Yep. So it was my first semester on campus, but since I was considered a sophomore, that's when a lot of recruiting opportunities opened up as sophomores in business. So I was applying to internships and stuff like that. I received internship offers with all of the big 4 firms, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, a couple of other companies, very big financial firms, with only a semester of experience on an actual college campus. And it was a difficult thing. But I would say it's an overall philosophy. It's knowing who is the audience and what you are applying to specifically, not just the title. For example, financial analyst internship, that's not what you're applying to. You're applying, know exactly what your role is within the company as a whole. Like who is the person interviewing you and what do they want out of you? So I wasn't trying to focus on my technical skills because to be quite honest, I didn't have them at that time. Only 1 semester into campus. I wasn't, as good of an accounting student as someone who had taken a year's worth of coursework over me. But one thing I showed is that I had great aptitude. I was willing to learn. I'm a quick learner, and I had great soft speaking skills. I was able to communicate very clearly. And they looked at me as a candidate for an internship because they said, hey, I would really enjoy having this intern on my team. Even if he's not the most qualified, this and that, I like him and I think they're cool. That's why. That's what I was shooting for. I was never shooting for trying to demonstrate that I'm the best academic or trying to demonstrate that I'm the best professional or that I know the most about this particular line of service or anything. Nothing. I was just trying to show I'm ambitious, I'm hungry, and I want the chance to work at a very cool place. And that's all it was. I'd say that was the biggest success with, what I had in terms of recruiting and opportunities like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think that's really good advice for people who are like looking to get those internships, who maybe think that they're not like experienced enough to get them. So I think that's good advice. Kind of switching over to your plans after graduation, do you have any ideas of what you want to do? Graduate school, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of graduate school. It's something that I have just known I wanted to do from the get-go. Because let's be completely honest and clear it out in the open. CSUF is no large private institution. We all know this, right? I love CSUF for the opportunities it's given me. It's given me fantastic opportunities for all the industries that I want to enter, but I want the experience of going to a large institution, a large private institution with an endowment, where there's unlimited resources that you can just tap into and all those sort of fun things. So I was like, you know what, I'm going here for my bachelor's. I'm going to study. I'm going to be an academic, and I want to go to a cool graduate school. So maybe I can relax a little bit. Maybe I can, graduate school, especially MBA programs, are a lot more focused on discussion and leadership, not as much, technical aspects. So I was like, I think that's just in the path for me, especially for the career that I'm going down into. And MBA is sort of like required once you reach a certain point in consulting. In order to get promoted to an engagement manager, you have to have a sort of MBA for a lot of consulting firms. So, and they're typically sponsored and all those cool, awesome sort of things. But for graduate school, I'm going to be a senior next year. I'm actually applying to something which is a little bit unique. I don't think a lot of students have heard about it before. There are new programs and new initiatives. I actually wouldn't have found out about it if it wasn't someone from my past internship that brought it up to me. And they're called deferred MBA programs. So deferred MBA program, what is that? Essentially, an MBA, in order to receive admission, they are, I would say, few MBAs, if any, that would prefer to hire students directly out of an undergraduate program, because it's very important to have work experience, to have real life practical experience to offer in an MBA class. For example, MBA students are not just business majors, they're STEM majors, they're comms majors, history majors, writing majors, English majors. They come from a variety of backgrounds in order to provide something for those class discussions. Not all of those MBA classes at any institution and program, if it is taught in a way that's really well, it's that the students are the ones that are essentially learning off of each other in a very facilitated, awesome environment. So they require job experience. So you typically apply 2, 3, 4, 5 years into your career. Anything past that, you would probably apply to another program called an executive MBA, which is for older applicants. So a deferred MBA means that you apply the senior year of your undergraduate program, and you were to hope to get admission 3 or 4 years in advance, sometimes 2 years, based on the program. So for example, this would be a Harvard 2+2 program. You apply as a senior undergraduate, you get guaranteed admission. Let's say you graduate 2020, you would get guaranteed admission into the starting class of 2022. So, guaranteed that you continue to work in the profession that you had listed, that you don't just take a, entire 2 gap years and, totally zone out after your undergraduate because you got admitted into Harvard. You get guaranteed admission into the class. It takes a lot of stress off. And one of the biggest benefits that they say, the reason why they're starting this program is because it encourages risk takers. So a lot of students work very hard in their undergraduate, but they don't want to pursue working for a large corporate firm to get the plastered name on their resume. They want to go do a startup, right? But if you're going to go do a startup and it doesn't work out, would that damage your chances at getting into, let's say, a great school like Harvard? It probably, unfortunately, it would, because you took that risk and it didn't pay off. And it's on a piece of paper, it doesn't look very great. But that, they're encouraging top students in their undergraduate programs that are highly motivated and dedicated to pursue these sort of routes with the still guaranteed admission. Because can you imagine having the perspective of someone that ran a startup for 2 years that maybe didn't work out in an MBA class? I would love to learn about that. How they ran their business, things that they can improve on, things that they learned. That's an awesome perspective. And that's what these programs are trying to diversify and improve. And that's why they offer them. So a lot of different schools out there. Me personally, some of the schools that I'm going to be applying to are honestly all my very, very top picks. I'd be happy to go to any of them. Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, which is University of Pennsylvania, Columbia School of Business, MIT Sloan, Tuck, School of Business. These are all fantastic institutions that are top 7, top 8 by far. And the reason I'm applying to those is because, put it simply, if you don't get into any of them, you have another shot at the normal cycle, 3 to 4 years. So that's my mindset, right? Obviously, they're all extremely competitive, because it's not like they're going to accept only defense, right? So you're only getting a portion of the 2022 starting class. So, there's less slots. There's obviously a little bit less people applying because not as many undergraduates want to apply this early. Not as many people are dedicated to an MBA at this point in their career. It fit me. I feel like I have a strong undergraduate application. I've done a lot. I'm really dead set on the MBA for the experience and the reasons that I listed for. It fits into my career. Why not? So, those are some of the plans that I have post-graduation. Aside from working with the firm that I'm currently interning with, I really plan to go to graduate school. And I look forward to applying to MBA programs next year. It sounds crazy to me. Applying as a senior in
You'll be
undergraduate.
what, 17 when you apply?
Oh no, you're bonkers. No, I'll be 20. I'll be 20. I'll be 20 when I apply.
I know, I just think I'm like, because I know that you're way ahead of you're supposed to be
Yes.
like a sophomore, but you're like almost a senior now. So
Yeah.
I'm just like,
So
are you 17? Like, how old are you?
no, I'm not that young. I'm not that. I graduated high school a year early, and I'm also shaving off a year of my college career. So I'm 2 years ahead. 2 years ahead. So
Okay.
I'm currently a junior right now. Even though technically, based on my age, I should be a sophomore or a freshman.
Yeah.
But but it's an awesome place to be in. There's a whole lot of reasons why I chose to do a 3-year graduation as opposed to a 4-year. Why I didn't decide on doing a double major or doing a bachelor's plus master's or any of those sort of things before my MBA. Happy to talk about those too, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's sort of just the track that I'm on.
Mhm. So I mean, obviously it speaks for itself. You've done so much. Do you have any tips for other ambitious students here at Cal State Fullerton?
Yes, I do actually. I think that there's a lot of routes that are honestly underrated. I say underrated as in they're not given a lot of attention. So one of those would be CCs or community colleges. I think they're a fantastic thing,
Yeah.
a fantastic resource to use, especially since there's a lot of resources online like Assist, which helps you transfer some of the courses that you may have taken at a community college
Hmm.
to a CSU or UC.
Every
This
friend that I
advice,
have that's like gone to a CC has
yeah,
like almost 95% of them have gotten into UCLA or UC Berkeley right after
yeah,
that. So
they have,
and
yeah.
spend half as much.
Yeah, they have something called, I believe it's called the Promise Program, which allows you to get guaranteed admission into a UC of your choice after 2 years of community college.
Yeah.
So that's an awesome route. But even if let's focus on CSUF student. You're a CSUF student, right? Some of the benefits that you can have taking classes at a community college is it allows you to dual enroll. So you might get additional financial aid from the two institutions and stuff like that. If you take 12 units at CSUF as well as maybe 3 or 6 units at let's say IBC or Fullerton Junior College, anything of those sort of things. There's a lot of benefits. You get access to essentially 2 different institutions for resources and connections and networking. It's an awesome thing. And then third thing would be summer classes at a community college are also a fantastic resource as well. And there's this cool thing that a lot of people don't know called CLEP. So what is CLEP? Well, if you've heard of AP classes, they're managed by the same people, College Board. They're the ones that run SAT, I believe ACT as well, and the AP exams. CLEP is essentially, have you ever been in a class where, you're wondering like, if I had just like studied for about a month, I might have been able to just pass this entire class. That's what CLEP is. It essentially allows you to test out of courses, and they offer it all the way up to lower division classes, regardless of your major. So for business majors, because that's just what I'm well versed in, you could take all the way up to your accounting classes, your business communication classes, anything that's not specific to, let's say, marketing or accounting or ISDS, any general classes. You can go up to those college level and you can test out of them. It's a fantastic option for people that are willing to do independent study, that learn more off of that way, that don't like in-class instruction, or that are looking to get ahead in different ways, because you can essentially test out of these exams and bring those test scores to CSUF and get them written off on your TDA, your transcript,
Mhm.
which is a fantastic exam. I personally haven't used them, but I know that they're, I wish I learned more about it in high school, because I've heard stories of people that are able to pass out all of their exams without even enrolling in a community college, just by taking CLEP. They take them their, freshman through senior year of high school. They don't have to do a lot of AP classes, because AP classes are associated with a lot of work, a lot of essays and stuff like that, that maybe a typical student wouldn't find beneficial. So they, take the exams on their own merit, and they're able to come into college with almost 2-3 years of units, sometimes 3 years. It's insane. It's honestly it's a cool resource, and not a lot of people know about it. So highly recommend you check it out. If you have some GEs that you want to check out, or you have some lower division, you want to add a minor. I was seriously considering adding a minor in philosophy. We've talked about it a ton, like the past hour. I wanted to add a minor in philosophy. So I was seriously considered taking some of those CLEP exams on the side and being able to just transfer those credits in and add a minor. So there's just a bunch of cool things. Yeah. So those would be some little tidbits of advice I have for ambitious students that are looking to maybe do a 3-year graduation track, or maybe looking to add a minor or do a double major or pursue work. So, that's another thing that's really big of CSUF, is that there are a lot of students in my classes and some of my other classes that work full-time, part-time while in school. So, that's another option that people may be open into, into looking up. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Great question, by the way.
Yeah. So we've seen that the pandemic, the subsequent lockdowns, and distance learning, there's been a huge impact on mental health. What have you been noticing, and what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So, it's there's no sugarcoating it. It's bad. There's been a lot of stuff that's been going on. Um, I know that rates of diagnosed depression are up a ton. Rates of anxiety as well. There's just been an increased dissatisfaction as online schooling has gone on. It's a very difficult situation for I feel for everyone involved. I did a bit on the Daily Titan a while ago because they were asking me how Zoom has impacted people's mental health, and I feel like just staring behind a screen, there's a lot of disconnection. It's hard to develop relationships with people. There's FOMO, so that's something that I've always had because I don't know if this has been like a cause of a lot of my thoughts lately. It's not that a fact that I haven't been feeling connected with people. It's that I'm always wondering about things that could have happened. So like this last winter break was torturous. I was like, oh, we could have gone to like Big Bear. I was talking to all my friends, like we could have done like a trip. We could have done a road trip. Like we could have done things. And honestly, that just hurts a little bit more than anything else that actually is happening. It's the things that could have happened. It's a dangerous sort of mindset to find into. I try and, yoink myself out of those traps when I get into them. But I would say that that's something that's definitely been happening because of the lockdown and things like that. And I'm hoping that as the situation gets better, as we're able to more safely be, hang out in groups and do those sort of things, that sense of normalcy comes back, that social interaction that I have been craving, that a lot of people have been talking to have been craving. But so as always, I like to bring a little bit of insight. As always, I like to do research and read on things. When I was a senior in high school, one of the programs that I was in, it's called the IB program. We did a paper on, it's a thesis paper that you're supposed to design and write that's supposed to prepare you for college. And it's a 6,000 word essay, a ton of research and all that. It's like your typical thesis that you would have as a college student. And what did I choose to write mine about? Obviously, the most abstract thing I saw on the list, social and cultural anthropology, because it sounded interesting. so I picked it, and there was a cool theory. Which is somewhat related, which is why I'm bringing it up. It's by Emile Durkheim, who was a French sociologist, and he said that essentially as people get more educated, rates of suicide and depression tend to go up. And it was a whole paper and analysis based on that, the theory of anomie. And I thought it was super interesting, and I wanted to connect it to how online learning has just been something that it allows you to think. It opens up your mind to things that may not be beneficial. You a lot of that what if, that how what you're missing, it's definitely impacted things from your sleep schedule to your mindset to your general attitude and behavior. And it's all about conscientiousness and awareness, right? So as you become more educated, you have to realize that there may be more things. Think of a mental map, right? If it's a spider web, the more you expand your spider web, the more surface area is. That surface area is things that you don't know because you have learned one thing. For every one thing you know, there's 10 things that you don't in terms of expansion and all those sort of things. So it's easy to feel into that imposter syndrome, that sorts of inadequacy and all those different things. That's what his theory talks about, right? So when you feel like you're missing out on a lot of things, it's all about just being aware of that. Being aware of that, knowing that you were doing your best, as cheesy as it sounds, that there's just a lot of things that are out of your control. And that's something that you shouldn't worry about because you know that that's out of your element. That's given me a lot of confidence, a lot of solace in terms of I'm doing everything that I can, and that's totally okay. These past couple months, it all honestly blends together with time at this point. But it's a very interesting thought, and I wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. Asha, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask?
No, this is awesome. I feel like I learned a ton.
Yeah, I do too. And I think this is going to be so helpful for all our peers and even future CSUF students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's all we have for today. Thank you to Saleem for joining us and speaking on our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, this is so great. And if you guys want to check out all of our, previous and future episodes that are to come, you can check us out on our YouTube channel, and make sure to follow us at hsac.csuf on Instagram and CSUF Honors on Twitter for updates about the podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.